was off for so long now. It's getting back to work. A little harder. Anyone, with the Facebook issues and found yak. The yak was wandering. We had an Oregon City, we had about 20 water buffalo just on the street. Yeah. People were rounding up water buffalo. Wow. I'm like, oh my God, you never know. Now I just see someone slaughter yak. I'm happy to hear that said. You're what is a yak? This yak was wandering in here. Parading around this yak. A surfer? I don't know. Oh, funny. That's crazy. That's the one thing when you go to Arizona, stuff, yeah, the wild pigs. I don't remember what they're called, but they have these wild pigs down, like, so a lot of the houses have these concrete walls, so the wild pigs don't get in their backyards. Oh. They're the weirdest looking things. They're not like wild boars, they're just these wild pigs that run around the city. People feed them? Is that what? I know, like they just go and they like go in people's backyards, so like you'll see the concrete walls around and stuff, and it's to keep the wild pigs out.
That's funny. Yeah, because pigs can't jump, so we mean you have to be high.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's funny.
You hear them, at night and stuff. It's like, oh my gosh.
Hey, Tyler, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, we're just waiting for Robert to show up. He said he was going to be a few minutes late.
Javelinas, that's what they're called. Oh, yeah. Javelinas. They're the ones that test, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think they do like us. Yeah, I think they do. We're such a lot.
There's the man of the hour. Where did that just pop up? Oh. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order real quick. Stand up and we'll recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome to our special session for goal setting, but we do have two additional topics to add on to the agenda that I want to throw in there before we get to the workshop. One is I want to have a discussion on the agenda for next week. And the second one is to set and establish our department evaluation reviews for next month, because we don't have a date set for that. Is there any concerns amongst council on adding those two items to the agenda?
I have none.
Tyler? Okay. So with that, the first one, agenda. So Tyler has released the message. He won't be able to attend next week's agenda or next week's city council meeting. On the agenda are two big topics, though. One is the appointment of the new city council position or to appoint someone to fill the vacated position on the city council. And the second one is the further discussion regarding the city manager. Now, those are two big topics. Tyler has asked that we push those off so he can attend. I did respond later that I would like to keep those on the agenda. You all saw that message. I think we owe it to those that have applied for the vacated position to have their opportunity to get appointed. We've already delayed it by 1 month, so it's been open for 2 months or so. The second part is I think we owe it to the city staff to close on where we're going with either a city manager and or a financial director, but we need to make progress on it. That's my reasoning for it. But since there is no clear definition on controlling the agenda in the city, I want to make sure it's brought up for the rest of our council to have a word on as well. So with that, I'm just going to go around and get everyone's take on it, and we'll see where we want it to land. I'm assuming that's what we need to do, Vicki? Yeah. Okay, James?
Well, I do feel that we need to fill the council position. We pushed it off to the audience last month that we wanted to open it, see if we had any more interest. So, not hearing that we've had any more interest, unless something changes between now and next Tuesday, I think we should appoint that position. And then I also I feel like we made a big deal about it in September, push it off to November to discuss the open position. It's only creating a more and more backlog. And so I think we should at least discuss it.
What are your takes on it, Robert?
Well, I'm trying to find the reply that you were mentioning. I don't recall getting a reply. Or at least I'm not able to find it.
It should have come back. I think, did Tyler copy us all on it?
What Tyler said.
Yeah.
But I don't have anything.
That should have my reply to him on there.
No,
It didn't go through on there?
mine did not.
No.
Regardless, I think that these are important enough decisions that we should have the available city council members present to make a decision.
Okay, for both?
Yes. I hate putting it off, but at the same time, I don't want to shortchange the city council members that due to other conflicts cannot be here.
And Tyler?
Yeah, look, I think you guys know where I stand on it. We've really been kicking this can down the road since January, so we can't blame it on it being really, you were gone in October, and we can't really blame it on the fact that I can't be there in November. This stuff could have been taken care of months and months and months ago, and we haven't done it. So you guys know where I stand. We either need to call another special meeting to vote on this or push it to December.
So we have a split council on that, so there's going to be neither a vote for nor against on it. It's just delayed. What's your recommendation then, Vicky, on this one?
Well, I did go ahead and contact the, Summer to see if she was gonna be available for this discussion in December. And she did say she had a conflict at this time. It may change, but she, it sounded like she wouldn't be able to make a meeting in December, the December council meeting. And it was my understanding that council would like to have her present at the meeting.
Nice to have her present, but looking through the packet that you have today, you do have a great, on this page here, a great summary on the discussion points from both Summer as well as from Ashley. So I think it summarizes a lot of what we were been looking for anyhow.
Okay. It's up to you. I know that, in the past, the council had a split tie and I know this sounds kind of off the wall, flipped a coin. So it's however you guys want to handle this, the tie.
Well, I don't want to flip a coin on it because I do also agree with where Robert and Tyler stand. These are two big issues and there are two things that need to be considered. We've had a discussion as a council and without a majority saying to move forward with them, I propose we move them to December.
Both?
Both topics. I don't think it's gonna hurt. I can shoot an email to both Yonley as well as Rocky.
Okay, I can do that too, because I'm gonna also have to do that with, Summer and the.
That's right.
Now, so I've already have the packets completed and,
Just be a slight change.
right, so, I will just let them know that those topics will be at the December meeting, and then at the meeting in November, we will just have to, note that those are going to be held over until December.
That's fine, which is next week.
Okay.
All right. Next topic, December evaluation date. So we delayed the November 20th. Was it November 20th? Because we had a conflict with staff to do the evaluations. We're still trying to set up a new date. The current date that looks to be best right now would be December 13th at 6 p.m. Would that work for you, Robert?
That's a Monday night.
Yes, Monday night.
Yep, that would work.
James, would it work for you?
Fire drill on Monday,
Fire drill on Monday night?
every Monday.
Every Monday night.
True.
All right, let's start find another date. What's another option that we might have, Vicki?
What about the December 7th?
Girls Harbor Day. I thought we had a conflict on December 7th. Robert, I thought you might have had a conflict on the 7th.
So that week is preparation for low standard distribution.
Uh-huh.
And I am busy from sunup to sundown. So I'd rather not schedule anything if I don't have to.
Yep, that's what I thought. I knew you had something.
Yep.
All right. Isn't there like a calendar freaking app on iPhone?
So the only other two dates, well, that week was 6th, 7th, and 8th, so those are out. December 13th, December 15th, and December 20th, but the 15th is now out. And the 20th,
That's a tough week.
yeah,
Can we do potentially the 16th, which would be a Thursday?
I'm not gonna be available.
Okay.
If I'm the only dissenting person for the 6th, 7th, and 8th, let's just schedule something for one of those 3 days.
I'll be with you,
No, I want to make sure you give enough time to the community on that. That's a lot of effort.
because I'll be with you.
Yes. I don't want to I know how much effort it takes to put in those community events.
What was the matter with the 15th?
What's that?
The 15th?
I'm not gonna be available the 15th or the 16th.
If the 13th is there, I'm not worried about missing room. So let's just do the 13th.
There's another couple of dates at the end of this month too, but I don't know, that's the 28th and 29th. I don't know if people are,
What about the 20th? Is the 20th available for everyone?
20th of,
December.
I'd rather do the
was
13th.
it your-
I'd rather do the 13th. Oh, that's right, it's back on your drill. Tyler, can you make it December 13th at 6?
Oh, what day of the week is that? I'm not looking
That's
at
a
the
Monday
calendar.
for staff review, emails?
That's 6. As far as I know, that should work.
Okay, why don't we go ahead and tentatively plan, or not tentatively, put it on the books for the 13th. James, if you cannot, for whatever reason, miss it, just let us know. Okay. All right, so we knocked out those 2 topics, which allows us now to move on to the work group, goal setting, strategy planning. It's not as much planning. My request on this one is, well, as a group, council, we wanted to get together and review the goals. We set them last year, and we needed to meet yearly to make sure that we were both still happy with them, are we making progress on them? And that's what the work session is for today. The idea is for us to really go through, and if you look at what was provided, Nikki provided about 3 pages, I think. The 4th page is nothing. So the first page is just the SWOT analysis, which it's there. But the real meat of it starts on page 2, and as well as on page 3, which kind of gives an overview. On the bottom of page 2, and Tyler, let me know if you're unable to follow along, if I need to like point anything else out, because I know you're not in the room. On the bottom of page 2, underneath strategic priorities for the city of Hubbard 2021-2022, we outlined some things that we wanted to move forward on this year. And my chats with Vicky last week, I said, what I would like to do is go through these goals, kind of get an idea of where they are. Some of them are completed, some of them are probably still in progress, some of them might be delayed. And then see if we still, as a council, agree that these are the right priorities we want to still focus on moving into next year, considering some of these are not done. Is there any dissension on that kind of way forward right now? I've got 2 nods here. Tyler, is that okay with you?
Sounds good.
Okay, so the first goal that we had was the complete preparation and construction bid for the water system upgrade. Now, Mike, I know on this one, we said we had to do the plan first, and I think the plan was voted in. You look different with it. Okay, that we had to get the water plan, I believe, updated. Wasn't it the water plan, or there was water management plan? We had to get another plan put in place before we went out for a bond.
Right, at the time, the city council decided that the, going out for a bond would be put aside until we get done with the wastewater, plan.
Okay.
But there are some things that have come up that, I think we're slated to talk about next week that may be a little bit of a change of that thought.
Okay. Anything you want to share now, or is it just a topic you want to leave off till next week?
Well, it has to do with the, COVID money, basically. With what we've got saved, with part of the COVID money, and with some SDCs, and at this time, we're unsure how many that would be. We believe that we can get the water project done without going out for a bond at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well then let's go ahead and leave that for discussion next week, but it still sounds like it's an achievable goal for what we're shooting for. And that would be actually increasing the pumping station, or actually adding a pumping station to abandon the tower.
Yes. There's 5 different aspects of that project that we will be looking at. So,
The
yeah.
sixth one being all the leaks spurting all over the streets.
Oh, yeah, that's part of it, but, that's gonna happen. So yeah, just to briefly hit that, it would be the, pumping station that would increase the pressure. It would be main replacement due to the increased pressure. We're looking at also putting in a new SCADA system that, runs the whole thing from, the computer at the wastewater plant. A new filter, and, unfortunately, the newest on the list is we need to replace the roof at the water plant. A couple of weeks ago, during that last bad rainstorm, it leaked and got into the computer box and blew out the radio that communicates with the rest of the system. So,
So your workers have been having a great week, if not having to hear from you.
yeah, they're not all that happy.
Okay, this sounds promising though, so, and I'm assuming from council's perspective, the wastewater or the water system upgrade was our top priority last full session. I'm assuming it still is. I'm getting nods here. Tyler, do you agree it's still a top priority to get our water system upgraded?
Yes, I agree, top priority.
Okay, then let's leave that on there. That was a great update, by the way. Thank you. Next one's an interesting one. Inventory, the needs for the streets and sidewalk repair, determine incentives and budget, and begin work on feasibly, as feasible based on budget and participation and incentives. Do we have an idea yet? Have we completed that plan to understand maybe all the sidewalks that are damaged across the city, what it might take to get it fixed, roads, et cetera?
We've only done it partially. We haven't, had the chance to go out and do a comprehensive review of all the sidewalks. We got about 50% of them, earmarked.
So is that something we still think we can complete in the near term through next year to get a good inventory on what we need to get fixed and repaired?
With that one, it comes down to a money issue.
Right now, it's just the inventory, right? We're just trying to
Oh, yeah,
see
the
what needs to be done.
inventory absolutely can get done, in the next couple of months.
Yeah, because once it's inventory, then we're able to step back and say, what can we do if future money comes in? Then we can say, we would like this sidewalk replaced or that one. Or incentives put in place for maybe homeowners in the future to be able to at least partner and try to replace the crap.
Yeah, that's one of the ideas that we have. And if you want, more details, I'll let Melinda take care of that because that's her brainchild.
Okay. So I'm assuming that is still another top priority, and that is improvement of our streets, our sidewalks.
It is for me.
By the way, I'm happy to see the partial sidewalk at least put in on Easter. Tyler, you still agree, because you're not in the room, so I can't see your head nod, that the street and sidewalk repair inventory still should be done?
Yes, I agree.
Excellent. Okay, good news, right? City Hall revitalization is completed, minus like windows, but I think what we set out for initially, this is done, is it not?
There are some minor things that need to be completed, but it's 99% done.
What do we got remaining? I mean, it's pretty darn close, though. I mean, it looks great. It's open back up to the public.
Yeah, we just need to get, the pictures back on the wall, get that painted, get some of the stuff put back the way it was.
The little stuff.
The little stuff.
Okay. But the major stuff, the
Major
contract
stuff.
stuff, that is out of the way, done, paid off. We don't have any bills still coming in. Sweet. See, one done. G Street revitalization, I think that's officially done. The planters went in, some sort of landscaping along there. How are the homeowners? And businesses, are they liking that change? Have we heard anything? Because I know you guys interacted with them and tried to see what they would like in that place.
Really haven't heard anything from them. When originally went in, they said it looks good, and after that, they've been quiet, so, no complaints I take as a good sign.
Okay. Next one, determine opportunities for new funding mechanisms such as grants or matching funds. Actually, sorry, I skipped one. Complete the Fifth Street paving and sidewalks. That is officially done.
That is done.
Great. Then it's back to the opportunities for new funding mechanisms such as grants and matching funds. I'm assuming with us being down a financial director, I don't think we would be tasking Summer to go up and do this as a contract person. I'm assuming this is probably something that's kind of fallen by the wayside. It's still something I'm assuming we would all like to see, but again, we have to understand the current constraints of our resources. Okay, next one, inventory available properties and determine costs for an east side park, the other side of 99E. Do we have any progress on that? Any update?
No,
Is there any even opportunities over there that we know about?
not that we know about. There are several open pieces of land, but to my knowledge, none of them have come up for sale. And if they do, you know, do we have the money set aside to make that purchase?
So it's still a nice long-term goal, but at this time, there is no opportunities for us to seek a park over there. We do have a book nook over there, so we are expanding at least some amenities.
Yes.
Hopefully the book nook isn't leaking. I have not water. I don't know what, I mean, I would still like to keep this on our list for goals for next year to continue looking at opportunities. Is there anyone on council that would disagree with that position?
No.
Tyler?
Oh, I agree. Let's keep it.
Okay, next one, coordinate with the MW COG on Third Street revitalization. I don't think did we renew our membership with COG yet?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm assuming, I don't know, any progress on this? I know we've had some revitalization along Third Street thanks to Matt Kennedy. I don't know of any future plans right now or of any permits being drawn, so I don't know of any potential that COG can offer. Do we have any update on this one at all, or is this another one that's just kind of,
Well, I'm not really sure what we were coordinating with them.
see if there's any incentives that they might be able to help out on, any tax incentives, any districting, any rehabilitation zones, whatever it might be. We were looking for anything that the COG could provide incentives or help on.
Yeah, they haven't said anything to me about this. I can check with them.
That'd be great. I would still like to keep it. I'd still like to see Third Street revitalized, continue the progress going. I'm assuming most of us would like to see it.
And that's, it should be in WVCOG on Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Government. If you're gonna update this.
Okay. And the other one, anticipate and plan for community involvement in the city decision-making. I think this one is just, besides council members going out and chatting with members of, I don't think we've had any open houses or any discussions. So this is something that we need to definitely improve probably next year and try to get some sort of a community outreach, I'm assuming.
Still a little offended.
Yes, I know. I just remembered that, I'm sorry. Yeah, and I do know that we have half the population that are very concerned about meeting in public, and we still have the population that wants to get out and party. So I'm assuming this is something that we just continue to track an opportunity for in the next calendar year and try to get some community involvement there. Now, what's not on here, and by the way, if you look at slide 3, our facilitator last time kind of gave us an overview of a map. So I think kind of knew what was already going to be going on there. My question, and I want to kind of go around with each council member though, and then I want to talk to city staff as well. Is there any goals that we think are missing on this? That would be my next ask. And let's start kind of backwards on the room that I went last time. And I'd like to ask Robert, is there any goals on this that you think that we're missing? Anything that has come up over the last year?
I don't know so much about the last year, but one thing that I would like to see is some commonality. If we're going to revitalize Third Street, commonality, what do we want it to look like? Building style, sidewalks, signage, requirements for signs citywide. Like the light up sign. I don't know if you all saw it, but that Comcast truck, it's 8 feet wide, 8 feet tall, right? Parks over by the park. Is that even within our sign code? Things like that, like some uniformity. I think that is something that has not been addressed. I don't think it's been an issue. quite honestly, the signage specifically, especially the electronic sign. So for me, it would be, if we're gonna revitalize Third Street, let's make a map for it. This is what we would like. This is what we would expect. If that means that we have to change, our building code or things like that for that particular part, I'd like to have us look into that. So that way it's a common way. It's not like this building looks this way, this building looks this way, and these buildings look the way that they always have for a decade.
There's really Cricksville building looks kind of that westerny, and it looks like the new Hubbard Inn is having a similar type of look with the big windows.
Sandy does that. Sandy, they have to look a certain way, the new building.
But Robert brings up a great point. We don't have Sandy has a development code, as most cities do, on what they expect it to look and feel like. I know we did a revitalization study, gosh, a long time ago, where they had some like design ideas and so forth.
Mount Angel has some development codes where they don't allow that sign. That's why all the signs are lit from the front forward. So it wouldn't hurt to.
I was going to say, I think we're poised for some growth.
Might as well put
Let's
something in place
try
now.
to give it some direction.
Question on this one, is this something that the council should take up first, or should we task the planning commission with looking at this?
So this would be a development code change, and it would be, you would be directing the planning commission to look into it, but they're gonna want direction
Okay.
as to what it is that you're looking for. And then they would, it would be workshops and whatnot for the planning commission, but of course, they're gonna need guidance of what you guys want.
I agree that we should put something in there. You're right. We're posed for some growth in the city, and now might be the time. So let's put it on a goal. I agree. We should probably set up and establish design or building code design. What's the best way to phrase that?
Development code.
Development code. Okay.
For standard.
Standard commercial,
standard for signage,
actually, obviously just general.
Aesthetics.
And we can line that up then maybe in the first couple of months for a council topic. We'll have a full council again. We can have the discussion and provide guidance to what we believe planning commission should take up on, and we'll let them take it from there and maybe see if we can't even get some of the community involved in the workshops. It's a great idea, right? Anything else, Robert?
That's what was on my mind. That's a good one.
Okay, James, you're in the room. Anything else that you see missing or what you'd like to see added?
No, I think we had it pretty good.
That's a big one, Robert, put on. So. Yeah, that's huge. Tyler, any goals or additional objectives you would like to see us as a council or the city tackle next year as well, or even long term?
I think in this plan, and I think one of the plans we looked at from the past, it was like about curb appeal of the city, making it look like somewhere where people want to come, right? And then I don't know that we have that in that Third Street area. In the planters and the medians and those things, they certainly could look a lot better. I think that's probably the same way around town when you talk about sidewalks and, paths and sidewalks that provide greater walkability. Well, there's areas of town that have brand new sidewalks. There's areas of town that don't have sidewalks at all. And then there's areas of town that have, the 2-foot sidewalks that aren't walkable. So I think uniformity within code, sort of to Robert's point, I think would help make the city not only look better, but sort of have that uniformity to it where people will say, oh, this makes sense. This looks good. This is a place I would want to come to. And I think there are parts of town that don't have that right now. But just code enforcement in general, right? It seems like, is it walkable in the city if cars are always parked on sidewalks? No, probably not. If there's old beat up cars in alleys and on streets and that never move, is that livability? Is that quality? Probably not. So I think just a general, problem with this right now though is that our ordinance schedule only allows for complaints. So I think when you have that type of system, it leads to people taking advantage of what the ordinances are, which leads to decreased quality and livability of the city. And from a beautification perspective, it's just not there. And if you don't hold people accountable to maintain sidewalks and right-of-ways and those types of things, over time, livability goes down. So I think if we could find some sort of way to, one, make that uniform, two, make it enforceable, I think that would lead itself well to curb appeal for the city, a place where people want to come, a place that looks like it's inhabited and taken care of. I think those things would be really important.
Yep, and I agree with that. I think what you're actually doing then is definitely giving credence to what Robert's looking for on the development guidelines, and really putting another emphasis on also the need for us to get that inventory for the needs of the streets and the sidewalk repairs, and figure out ways to either incentivize or enforce getting those things replaced.
Can I make a comment on the code?
Go ahead.
So one thing we've done recently in the police department is divide the sections to the officers to actually do more of a proactive in trying to get people to comply with code enforcement. So it's a slow process, as we know, but we have done that within the last 2 weeks. So
How's that going so far?
well, I think we're in the initial spots of finding code enforcement or finding code violations, and then, you know, making the contact. You need to take care of this. Sergeant Anderson divided up to 3 officers. When Mark White gets released, then they'll be divided between 4 of them, and gave him a section of the town. So.
And to follow up on that one, and for the sidewalk passable, whatever, are we also following up with telling homeowners, and this might even be the public works might go help out on, to trim back the vegetation that grows all the way over the sidewalk?
So that's one of the things that the officers are supposed to look for, and just tell them, you know, we sent out the letter, I think we do in June or May, about overgrown vegetation. That's one thing they're supposed to be looking for as they do their regular patrol duties. And hopefully that'll help curb some of what Tyler's talking about.
Which is true. I mean, yeah, I've seen people walk on my sidewalk and then have to get off and around because it's sidewalks overgrown.
And just to maybe add a little bit too, so Public Works actually, because you asked about our department, so Public Works actually does get through complaint driven if we hear about something like that that's overgrown and is outside of the scope of where things should be, then we actually send out enforcement letters as well.
Okay.
And then follow up to make sure that they're completed, and work with the property owner to make sure they understand what they do need to do and why they need to do it, and et cetera. So we've
Thank you
had
very much.
quite
It helps.
a few of those, yeah.
Do we have any homeowners when we're doing that though, that might be unable to for whatever reason, might need assistance or help from volunteers?
Sometimes there are, but there's an agency that sometimes will be able to assist with that, particularly with trees. I think that we've seen that, but usually they're able to find resources that help them do what they need to do. So we've not had anybody that was not able to comply that has been brought to our attention. So.
Yeah, I know we had a windstorm like 2 weeks ago and I had more freaking snowfall. Jeez. Tyler, good input. Thank you. Anything else you want to add?
Oh, I think that's a good place to start. I think from a cost perspective, you know, tackling one thing, infrastructure wise like that, it'll be a tall task, but I think it's a good place to start.
I agree. I think we got 2 huge infrastructure things. One is sidewalks and roads, and the other one is the water update. I don't have anything to add to it. I like the addition Robert suggested, so we'll throw that on the list. I want to go along city staff though. And let's start with, we'll go down at the end first. We'll start with Chief Rash. Do you have any suggestions for the city on what goals you think might be put on there? Anything else that you think we're missing?
So I think the city's, sorry, I've been wearing the mask on and off all day. The city is doing a good job with the short-term goals. The one thing that should be on everybody's mind is we are got 59 acres that we're hoping to be developed with 300 units. I mean, I haven't looked at stats, but 3.3 people are, used to be allocated to units. It's 1,000 people coming in the city. This means 1,000 different people who may need the city services. Looking at a more long-term goal when that's done is might have to increase the staff, right? Maybe police officer, public works, and definitely somebody at City Hall. And so it's just something, I don't know if that goes on here or next time we do goals. I know there's interest in the property. I don't know where we're at on that. But that's just something that, just long-term thinking about, we may have to increase the workforce as the population increases.
Good suggestion. I would assume that as we go through that development process, though, we're gonna have transportation impact studies and other studies done that I'm assuming that will, as a council, be able to see and hopefully be proactive on making recommendations on what we think needs to be done. I'm assuming that's how we would go through. I do know there at least needs to be a transportation, and then, do we still have to go through like a water plan impact assessment as well?
No, but we are doing the, well, that'll be part of it. What they'll present to us as what they believe the impact will be on the water. But our planning portion of the water is pretty much done with the master plan that we had done or finished this year. Where we're gonna run into some problems is you're mentioning two big projects, we're gonna have three. Because had a meeting with DEQ, it was not last week, but the week before. And there's definitely gonna be some changes coming that could be very expensive.
Do we have any idea what those changes are, though?
Yes, to a certain extent, but I don't know exactly what they're gonna require us to do. And what they're calling it is a thermal limit. What they're telling us is that our wastewater is too warm to be discharged into Mill Creek during the summer months, which is May 1st to October 31st. So technically now we're in the winter months, but what we don't know at this point is, do we just need to cool it down to a certain degree, or do we have to get out altogether? And if we get out altogether, we're having to look at putting up some sort of a lagoon system to the tune of about 20 million gallons, which is gonna be about 8 acres.
Would we even find 8 acres for that?
That's one of the things we're looking at.
This is a long-term project potentially. I'm assuming it isn't coming next year or the year after, but something we need to be planning for.
No, we're looking at this in the next 2 or 3 years.
2 to 3 years.
They're gonna mandate it when they're finished with the new permit, which should be done in about 9 months. So we're looking at July maybe. And then in that permit, there's gonna be a set of benchmarks that we're gonna have to make that tell us, okay, at this point, we gotta do this. At this point, we gotta do this. And it's gonna lead down the road to whatever they decide we need to do. And it's not that far, in that distant of the future. Say we're probably looking at construction probably in 3 years.
Okay, so 3 years out, but it looks like by August of next year, we should be able, as a council, probably go through and look at those milestones that have been published.
Right, there's a process involved with that. Luckily for us, we're also starting the wastewater master plan, so the engineers are working hand in hand with DEQ. So luckily for us, we'll have some people in our corner on that. So I'm just letting you know that it's coming. It's going to be a process, but it has the potential of being quite expensive.
Do we know what, when you say expensive, what is that in terms of?
I'm throwing out a number here, but we're looking at maybe $4 or $5 million. Depending on whether or not we're going to have to get some land.
So it really is basing on whether we have to move it or not.
Right, and then there's some other issues with the new subdivision coming in. So there's gonna have to be some upgrades to the wastewater plant also in the way of tank size and that sort of thing, we're looking at capacity.
I'm assuming though that can be somewhat offset with the system development charges?
Yes.
Yes, right.
Yes, we'll know how much of, what is proposed in the, master plan, how much that can be, what percentage can be of the SDCs can be used for that, so, the water master plan stated basically about 45% of what was suggested in there, we could use SDCs on, system development charges. So,
So other than Front Street, I don't know, is there any talk about potentially other developments being annexed coming up that we could maybe think about? Heading out Whiskey Hill, the end of Third Street, anything like that, or any other industrial area coming in?
you want
So,
to take that one, Vicky?
so, I have had a few residents over, on Dunn Road inquire about annexing. We did hear a while back have a developer look at that, but I haven't heard anything more about that. Did have, a gentleman come in yesterday and was looking for 2 large parcels for industrial property because there are 2 businesses in town that want to expand, but they don't want to leave Hubbard. We do not have we have no acreage for what they're looking for. So, I don't have another big development
At this
in the
point?
works or whatever, other than that one over there. But that was.
Which is odd because it seems like all the other cities around us are starting to boom
Mhm.
and again, a lot of potential for increased income.
I don't know what their infrastructure is, but that might be an issue. I mean, here, I just don't know. I mean, that was one of the things that I was gonna, well, I guess Mike can finish up if you'd like, but one of the things I was hoping that you guys would put on the radar is this comprehensive plan and urban growth boundary expansion that, keeps coming back to the council, because we need to do that needs study. And where the city, do we have enough residential? Do we have enough industrial? And obviously, we're kind of out to go anywhere.
Okay, so I got that added on my list here, comprehensive plan, definitely put it down, and you brought that up, and I think we've even talked as a council, and we definitely need to tackle that, we just don't want to tackle it in the near term. But maybe next year, the year after, we probably are gonna have to look at that, you're absolutely right.
So I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but
Oh, go ahead.
the process for the comprehensive plan, you're looking at least a year, and then after that, another year. So the sooner you get started, if you keep pushing it down the road, then by the time, we may be behind the 8 ball or whatever.
And to reiterate what Vicky was saying, I've had a couple of different parties come to me because they are interested in developing land both north of town and south of town. Basically, what she's saying is, other than that track out at Dunn Road, we don't have any developable land left after this one sells out. And yeah, Dunn Road's a fairly good sized piece, but what you run into there is a lot of those people down there aren't interested in selling.
No, they're not.
Well, that, and it does have a lot of challenges for
Yes.
infrastructure.
Yeah, to do any development down Dunn Road, you're gonna have to put in another wastewater pump station. And that in itself is a very expensive proposition.
Well, why don't we, if it's okay with council, we have a fiscal year budget discussion that kicks off in April next year. Let's see if we can budget in the comprehensive plan into next year's fiscal budget then. But that is a good point, Vicki. But real quick, Chief Rash, did we actually finish up on what you were looking for?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, just wanted to check. Mike, anything additional?
Nope, that was the big one I wanted to, bring to you tonight.
Excellent. Melinda, any suggestions from you?
Possibly just a reminder to you that once our wastewater master plan is done, we're gonna probably want to plan to hire a consultant to update our actual SDC methodology. And that's to make sure what they do is they take into account all of the projects that are listed in both the water and wastewater master plans, and then they re-evaluate what each development should be paying for SDC. So we want to make sure we keep up with the, get the most
I agree with that.
that we can, for sure, yeah. And then I didn't know, the other thing I was thinking too, would be possibly considering, making it a goal to update our, sidewalk improvement program. That hasn't been updated at all since it was originally put into place. And if we wanted to try to incentivize, property owners to take it upon themselves to improve and or construct sidewalks in front of their properties. If we could find funding to increase, right now it's at $300 and has been at that for quite some years. If we could find funds to increase that some, that might help incentivize property owners to, again, to do those improvements with that help.
Yeah, 300 doesn't go a long ways. I think on my side, 100 feet cost me $9,000.
Yeah, yeah.
I think though that kind of rolls back in to the number 2 goal we had on the street and sidewalk repair and determine incentives and budget. So I agree. So that's just kind of rolling right back into that one. And I don't think there's anything preventing us from, in a future council session, bring a proposal. Let's see what we can do I would love to see if we can incentivize individuals to actually go out and make the repairs that they're already technically on the line to do when you buy the house. Unless Comcast drills a hole in it. Those are excellent ideas. Melinda, anything else on that one? How are we doing on parks?
That was the other thing that I've got written down, is we may want to consider updating our parks master plan. And I know that one of the goals from last year's session was, again, circling back to part of that, was to find a spot for an east side of the highway park. And that is actually kind of mentioned already in the plan that we have. But it's also getting to be an older plan as well. That's
How old is that plan?
It was, I believe, 2007.
I think I was on that committee, like we met in here and we
Yeah.
looked at all the parks. And
Yeah,
so how much did that study cost? So are you suggesting we probably redo another?
we might want to look at hiring consultants potentially, to update that. And then possibly have them look a little bit closer at some of the potential properties. Like Mike said, there aren't any immediate opportunities because as far as we know, there's no properties listed for sale. But I know that our existing plan does have, one mention of a potential area. So there's like 3 that I saw that could potentially be, if the property owner actually decided they did want to sell. We have the one that's, which is mentioned in the park master plan, and this is actually already in the city limits and it's already zoned R1. So theoretically, R1 can actually be used for public parks as well. So the benefit of that piece would be that we wouldn't have to, annex it in, and we wouldn't have to rezone or, rezone it, et cetera. And that's the piece that's behind the Sherwood Mobile Estates. And there's also a already that flagged area for where it can, access from the highway. And again, it's already in the city limits and zoned R1. The tough side of that is it's part of the bigger lot, so it would need to actually be subdivided in order to do that.
Is that annexed into the city property right now? Is that within our growth boundary?
It is, yeah.
So technically, it could be developed, and if the developer wanted to do it, we could try to, okay, I see where you're going with
But
that.
it's an opportunity. And then another one would be, it's Marion County property that's behind Country Estates. This one's not annexed into the city at this point. It's also not in the UGB. So that's a huge process in itself to bring that in. And again, all of these are contingent upon a property owner actually even being willing and wanting to, sell off a piece of their property. And then the other one that we all know about is the Elton Rose property. where we could maybe combine that. At one point, there was talk about trying to have a new city hall, police station, public works facility that's all in one. And there was the study done quite a few years back now, but Belcom Rose property was one that was looked at. And theoretically, we could even have, if we bought those two tax lots that are out in Rose, we could potentially have a city hall facility towards the front part of it, and then have an actual park in the back part of it. And there's one really good grant program for land acquisition for parks. That's a 20/80 match, meaning that the city, because we're a smaller city, we would only have to make a 20% match for, an acquisition for parkland. The other one is a little bit more cumbersome to get through, and it's also only 50/50. But those might be some ideas, but.
These are great ideas, actually, even if it's the other property.
Right, yeah.
So it sounds like we've got two plans that we want to work on. One being, or actually three, besides a comprehensive plan, a community development guideline, initiative next year that's going to involve the community. And then maybe a review or revitalization or whatever a better term might be of the plan for the parks master plan, if you would, which is also, if I recall, really dependent on community involvement as well. I don't know if we're going to get enough support to do two big plans like that in 1 year from the community. It'd be a big stretch. But I'm assuming, I think the development guidelines would probably take precedence over the park one for right now. But maybe we can line it up as a goal. I think it's a great goal. And once we complete one plan or one design standards, we move on to the next one and maybe try to get the exact same people that might be participating and involved in that as well. Would that work?
So if you guys do the comprehensive plan and urban growth boundary, that may open up more properties for parks on the east side of the highway. So that might be something you
They
might
do all
want to
kinds
do
of
before you
together.
do that. I don't know. but-
Yeah, that's why I said for the next fiscal budget, let's see if we can budget it in and get it at least budgeted for.
Don't they all tie in together?
They do. I was just thinking it would be more land opportunities, maybe depending on actually which direction where they allow us to go.
Usable farmland, what's not. All right, let's keep moving down. Hey, Julie, do you have any suggestions? You've been with the city now for a couple of years.
Well, my biggest suggestion is please get that position filled somehow.
All right. Vicky, anything additional on yours?
No, basically that, and I had sidewalk connectivity, and yes, please fill the position.
Okay, well, long-term goals, hopefully the positions, whatever we decide is filled. But what I'm hearing from an addition that we could add on to our strategic goals and priorities then, Vicky, would be one, a development code or commonality for not just Third Street, but all of Hubbard, guidelines, et cetera, et cetera. Rash, yours was short-term goals are fine, but long-term goals impact the resource. Yes, we'll have to keep an eye on that. I think that's just a reoccurring thing that the council should be tasked with, keeping an eye on. But Mike had one, and that is we probably need to throw in there long-term planning for the DEQ changes. It'd probably be good to, if you can just, and we can kick that off next year by August, just come and give us the milestones that we're gonna have to be looking at, and at least the council can start planning on that.
You'll be involved with whatever planning's happening. There's gonna be review periods for both the DEQ renewal of the permit and also the wastewater master plan. So we'll keep you apprised of what's happening.
But it's a good goal so people can know if we can publish these goals, even so the city residents can know what we're kind of working on as well. So they can see where this money is going, what we're trying to do. We already talked about the water upgrades, sidewalks. James goes back to the development, which is the comprehensive plan, not necessarily a long-term plan. We're going to try to work that into next year's fiscal. So maybe that would be a short-term goal to see if we can't get that budgeted in the 22 to 23 fiscal year. Melinda had some good ones, but it went back to the sidewalk improvement program, which I think goes back to the incentivizing. Once we figure out how many sidewalks need to be replaced, whatever, good inventory, then bring to us, like, let's figure out what's a better way to incentivize besides maybe $300. And then the Parks Master Plan, put that on our long-term objectives. I'm assuming probably not for next year, the 22 to 23 period, right? Next year's calendar, probably the calendar after that, we might want to look at that on 23 to 24. That goes to the parks plan, and then the comprehensive plan. I think we talked about that already, Vicki, a couple of times. Did I miss anything, council members?
I think so.
Tyler, did I miss anything? It's probably hard to follow us online.
No, I'm tracking, and I heard what you heard.
Good, all right. Then is there any other topics on this work group that council members would like to bring up? And I'll go around with Thomas first.
Can you repeat that, Charles?
Do you have any other topics you would like to talk about around the goal setting or strategic planning?
No, I think I'm good. Thank
You're
you.
good. Robert?
I am good.
You're good. James, good? City staff, are you all good? Okay, then I would make a motion for adjournment. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Bye.
Okay, all those opposed, we are adjourned. Thank you all for attending. See you next week.
It was good. It doesn't eat once a day.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be best if I ate.
You know what this is?
Yes, yeah, we were at, Sergeant Peters, that died.
Thanks, Mike.
Robert,
Yes, ma'am.
See you guys later.
was your packet not up for next week? Was it not up there? Okay, you don't want the folder? Okay.
No, I want you to have it, so that way it's ready for next.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, no, thank you. Yep.